my dear YouTube friends, subscribers of the Gramophone Channel and guests. Just to say hi to all of you and to express my sincere appreciation for all your liking, subscribing and commenting on my posts. I really enjoy reading all of your comments. Unfortunately, I cannot reply promptly to most of them. I'm not spending so much time on YouTube. I'm not a social animal, but it is really amazing to me that 2 months after opening the channel, I can see 1,000 subscribers that enjoying the music with me. We remember together all the artists and great people who were creators of the great music of the past. At the same point, we are looking at the aspect of collecting records. The recurring question that I can see on most of the comments is to tell about the record player that I'm using for broadcasting the 78 RPM records, which is this one. And I decided to dedicate this video to the history of this record player. If you're going to stay with me for another 10 minutes, I'll tell you everything that I know about this phonograph. I was born in Soviet Union and moved to Canada 20 years ago. I still remember and cherish some things that were happening in my past, in my childhood. As I remember, my grandmother was owning such a record player. And when we moved to Canada, we left all the stuff over there, including this record player. Not long time ago on the internet, I found the auction where the person was selling this record player. This record player was shipped to me from Ukraine, Odessa. The city is heavily bombed today by the Russian troops, which I condemn. I condemn the whole war. I'm Russian, but I stand with Ukraine. And the seller from Odessa told me right away that this record player is not working. So when it came to Canada, I had to spend another week on restoring it and figuring out what the problem was. Although these units are very reliable, because in the mid-70s many military plants were involved in production of such record players, believe it or not, because the whole industry and the economy of the Soviet Union was militarized. So many parts of these record players were done by the plants who were making parts for spaceships and even nuclear weapons. And I'm not kidding. Soviet Union was a country isolated from the Western world, as you know. And it was not easy to get into Soviet Union by any American and grab this record player, especially when it was made only for the internal market. Besides that, the currency of this unit is not quite the same as the one that we have here. In Canada and United States, we have 120 AC. In Soviet Union, in the mid of 1970s, they had two currencies. That's because in 1930s, during the time of industrialization, Americans came to Soviet Union and they were building electric plants with outlets of 127 volts. And after World War II, the fight with Germans, Soviet Union decided to acquire the European standard of the currency. So all the outlets got another standard of being 220 volts. Some of their apartments had 127 volt outlets and some other apartments had 220. And sometimes in the same room you could have two currencies at the same time. So for that, many devices produced in Soviet Union were designed to support two types of currencies. There is also another notion as the currency frequency. You know that in Canada and United States, the currency frequency is 60 Hz. In Soviet Union, the currency frequency is 50 Hz. This is what makes the impact on using such devices in America, because if you plug the electrical engine into the outlet with the 60 Hz when it was designed for the 50 Hz, then your engine will rotate 15% faster than it was designed for. For that, you just need to do some mode to the record player to lower the speed a little bit down, 15%. So this caption says made in USSR. There is a knob for switching the speed 78, 33, 16 and 45. Let's lift up the disc. The disc is made of the aluminum. I wish it would be done with something heavier than aluminum. Aluminum is quite lightweighted metal. It was produced in 1974. The price of the unit is 45 rubles. Is it expensive or not for the Soviet Union? I guess for the citizen who would live in the city, it was not that expensive. The average salary per month was about 120 rubles. But if we are talking about the country citizen, the village people would make only like 30 rubles per month. That was not a lot, and for them this unit would be hardly affordable. So it was quite costly back in the day. Also we have this roller mechanism, idler wheel. This motor is now running 15% faster than it has to, so I replaced these two rollers. These rollers are not original. These two others are original. 45 and 16 are original. 78 and 33 are not original. These have different size from the originals, so that's how I reduced the speed of the disc by replacing those rollers. I just took them as donors from another record player. The rest is details. I just wanted to point you out on the auto stop here that lifts the arm up when it runs over the dead wax of the record. So what happens here is that if it's approaching the middle of the record, you see this part is moving towards the center, and the disc also has this, which gives this part a push that side and automatically disconnects electric engine and the amplifier from the AC. I also mentioned that in Soviet Union they had two voltages, so this is how you change one voltage to another without lifting up the disc. You can just take this black switch, rotate it, put it in another position and install it to support either 127 volts or 220. So as of now I installed it to support 127 volts. So this record is about 7 kilos in weight, has two cables. One cable goes to the speaker. This is how you connect the speaker. This part of the case can be attached or detached to the record player, and it has two speakers inside. I mentioned before that I received this record player in non-working condition. So first of all the parts that had to move, they had to be oiled. So you have to lubricate all the moving parts of your turntable mechanism. The auto stop has to also be lubricated. Another problem was that the pickup was completely dead. There was no sound because the pickup was out of order. I used the pickup from another record player and it fits properly, but this pickup generates a great sound. So actually the sound starts from the needle. The needle has to be of the good quality and it shouldn't be broken, and if you have the needle broken it can damage your record. Another thing what I did is I adjusted the pressure to the record. There is a bolt here under the hood of this tone arm that allows you to adjust the weight of the tone arm. So try to adjust the bolt. For your record player, always check the pressure. The pressure on the record should not be more than 3 grams. What else I didn't mention is that this was the first generation of transistor or semiconductor record players. Before it was a generation of the tube amplifiers, and those tube components had to be replaced from time to time. They would get burned with years, but the solid state implies that you have all the components that would serve the lifetime in your electric circuit. with years, some of the components still need to be replaced, like condensers. Condensers are drying out and they have to be replaced. But in this record player, I haven't replaced anything yet. This main cable that goes to main goes to the outlet. In Canada, we have this type of the slot. In Soviet Union, they have it slightly different. Also in Soviet Union, they don't have a ground wire in the main cable. I also attached the ground wire to the interns of this turntable for the safety reason, so it wouldn't get any electrical shock. This unit also supports 45 RPMs, but in Soviet Union none of the 45 RPMs have been produced as far as I remember. So these are the standard 45 RPM records that were produced in Europe, in USA, in Canada, in England. One song per each side. This is a single record. In Soviet Union they didn't have single records. They had minions with a standard spindle hole, but they were 33 RPM records with 2 songs on each side normally. So and I almost forgot, did I tell you that this record player was in production from 1966 to 1976? I'm wrapping up with my topic today, my tale about this record player, and I wanted to show you one interesting record. This is a Soviet record. It was produced around the same time as this record player, so they both belong to each other. 78 RPM records were in production in Soviet Union up to 1970. We discussed this topic already, that in America, in United States, the mass production of 78 RPMs finished in 1960. Chuck Berry, Let It Rock, was exactly the last record, one of the last records that was issued in the 78 RPM format, but for another 10 years, Soviet Union was producing 78 RPM records. So this is one of them in the minion format. The melody is called The Merry Tourists and performed by 4 folks. Let's play it. There is a ham from the speaker, you can hear it. This is because I didn't replace condensers inside. All the condensers inside have dried out. So once they are replaced, this hum will be cancelled out. So bye to all of you for today, and I'm playing this beautiful record for all of you.